Mr. Murali Pillai.
Sir, families whose members are patients diagnosed with mental health conditions often have difficulty managing these patients. It is not unusual for such patients not to adhere to instructions to take their medication or even attend medical appointments. This would lead to relapses on the part of the patients. Often, their caregivers undergo quite a bit of stress as a result. There are also families where the caregivers are older than the patients, giving rise to uncertainty and worry on the part of caregivers as to how these patients, usually their children, would be taken care of once they pass on. During the recent debate on Caregivers for Seniors motion introduced in this House by the Honourable Member Dr. Chia Shi Lu, the government announced a slew of measures to help caregivers of seniors, such as the provision of home caregiver grant of $200 per month and caregiver support network. The Honourable Senior Minister of State, Mr. Edwin Tong, pertinently recognized in his speech at the debate that there is a broad range of caregivers who operate in a variety of different circumstances and a very broad landscape. It is time to consider providing similar support for caregivers of mental health patients as announced for the caregivers of seniors. Separately, there are a good number of cases of mental health patients who live alone or do not get any support from family members and are in sore need of medical intervention. From time to time, we hear of such patients engaged in behavior such as hoarding materials in common corridors of HDB flats, quarreling with neighbors based on perceived threats, throwing bags of urine and feces, etc. A good number of them can't help themselves because they suffer from antisocial personality disorder, whose prognosis is guarded. Often, in the absence of supervision from families, there are practical difficulties in ensuring that these patients receive and adhere to their treatment. Even if the police gets called in, and the patients are eventually referred to IMH, there is no guarantee that they would present themselves at scheduled appointments. Once they are off their medicine, the tendency is for them to go back to their antisocial behavior, and the entire cycle repeats itself. This raises a conundrum in the communities where they live. Not only that, these patients may harm themselves, especially if they plunge into depression. I would like to ask the Honourable Minister what are his plans to provide more help to mental health patients and their caregivers, including those who are older than their patients. Also, how can the community and other partners help in this regard?